Kia ora everyone, it's been a little while. Welcome to episode 9 of Digital Footprints, a podcast by BIMinNZ. I'm your host Jake Nash, and today I have a really awesome guest that I had a great time interviewing. His name is Ali Bidhendi. He is a PhD candidate for AUT, and he's also an associate at Frequency. So Ali recently spoke at one of our recent BIMinNZ events in Auckland, and he presented some of his research, which is around this idea of people-first digital transformation at an organizational level, where he talked about the challenges organizations face when they jump straight to purchasing software or creating digital strategies that focus solely around technology or software and not the people managing it. So look, it's something that speaks dearly to me and I really enjoyed it. Hey, while we're here, we were away for a little while. I'm sorry about that. So you haven't missed any episodes. We just missed a few. And for those that are watching via YouTube, you might notice that things look a little bit different behind me. So for those that are unaware, I'm based in Wellington here. This is the studio that I do the recording in, and it was flooded by the recent storms. So this room was about shin deep in water, and that meant that everything had to be ripped out. The walls had to be ripped out, insulation, carpet, big chem dry fans running for 10 days to dry everything out, and then rebuilding the room. And look, we took the opportunity to add a little bit more, some paint and wallpaper and all that kind of stuff. So we haven't really had a space to record, and now we're back, and we really appreciate your patience. I know I've received a lot of kind words from people asking if the podcast is still going, what's happening. So yeah, we're a volunteer organization, and we do all this in our spare time, and occasionally we get the odd disruption. So thank you, and here is my session with Ali. Cheers, everyone.
Well, yeah, that's been a busy week, to be honest. And
Yeah,
the highlights recently was actually the BIMinNZ event itself.
yeah,
And I received a lot of good feedback and some attraction on LinkedIn. That was great. And the conversation afterwards, and I'm
yeah,
still connected with some people on LinkedIn
yeah.
after
It's a
that
good,
event.
it's a good
Yeah,
community, right?
yeah. Very cool community, and I'm very happy to be part of.
Yeah. Um, I've only recently been going to the Auckland ones because I travel for work, and if I time it with an event, it means I can go up and record it. So recording's kind of a new thing for us as well, and you're one of the first videos to go up. You're actually the first of this year because we didn't record the ones from earlier in the year. So our audience is going to get back-to-back Ali sessions with the video, and now with the podcast next week. So they'll get to know you really well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, that's
It's
amazing.
and I kind of wanted to get into your talk a little bit because I must admit I didn't know who you were before you joined the stage at BIMinNZ, but obviously we do a bit of research about our guests and make sure that they're appropriate and stuff. And as I was looking through all of your stuff, I found that your topics really resonated with me. I think my background and your research interests are quite similar in that they're focused on this sort of people-focused aspect of digital transformation. So I'm really keen to get into all of that. But first, I have two questions. One is when you're talking about digital transformation and in your recorded talk or just in your research, are you talking about just the construction industry in terms of building, or are you talking about the entire construction life cycle from design through build through operation? Like what do you mean when you say construction? Because it can be used both ways.
Yeah, well, to be honest, two points are here. First is the digital transformation definition itself, which when I am talking about digital transformation, I'm not talking about a specific project-based technology, like for example, let's say building information modeling or
Mm,
AI or some other stuff. I'm talking about the organizational transformation.
mm,
And the second thing is that when I'm talking about, again, digital transformation implementation, I'm not seeing it with the lens of project-based and temporary project-based nature. I'm looking at it as a permanent organizational transformation and implementing organizational wide, and then it
mm,
remains and it continues in different projects, let's say forever. So that's the beauty of working in digital transformation in the construction industry because the nature is project-based and it's temporary. For
mm,
example, I saw some companies that implemented brilliant technologies in some of their projects, but unfortunately, because after the project finished, they couldn't use the capacity to other projects because all the experience were gone.
mm.
Yeah, but what I was doing, what I was researching was organizational wide, permanent, not just focusing on a specific projects.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And the second question, which really should have been my first question, I have a tendency to just jump straight into the the nuts and bolts. But for our audience that doesn't know who you are, why don't you why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Ali Bidhendi. At the moment, I'm a PhD candidate at Auckland University of Technology, and at the same time, I'm working in frequency as an associate project manager and controls. And currently, I'm at Auckland Airport Project Terminal Neighboring Program. It contains around 15 projects uh, that I've been assigned into 4 or 5 of them, and I'm also responsible for integrating the whole program itself. Uh, I've arrived in New Zealand 3 years ago, and I'm originally from Tehran, Iran, and where my whole story starts. I did my bachelor's there, and then a master's in project management at Tarbiyat Mudaris University. And alongside the study, I was working as a project controls specialist on civil construction projects and a strategic PMO officer in ICT Holdings in Tehran and some workings in ICT ministry. So planning, scheduling, cost control, the engine room of the project delivery. And one fun fact is that I also won the first place in Iran's National Project Management Championship. And my wife says that it's the nerdiest trophy possible. Yeah, and she's right because I'm still proud of it. And it happened 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, I moved to Auckland to start my PhD at AUT. I was fortunate to receive a 3-year doctoral scholarship. And then New Zealand has been my home since. And the funny thing here is that my wife is also an architect, so and BIM specialist. So between the two of us, the dinner conversation is basically a long coordination meeting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. I bet.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So, how long were you working in overseas between completing your bachelor's and deciding to do further study?
Yeah, I have 8 years of experience
Mm,
as project management, project controls and manager, and 3 years of experience as an architect and designer. Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So you've worked in all the different spaces. That's great.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's quite different.
what was it about going back and doing a PhD? Did you kind of spot a gap that you wanted to put some additional resource in? Has it always been something you wanted to do, or was it just the
Yeah,
right opportunity at the right time?
that's an interesting question. To be honest, in Iran, it has two reasons. In Iran, everyone loves to study PhD, and I don't know why. I think it's a cultural thing. And if you don't have your a PhD, then your parents start complaining about you.
Right.
And yeah, and the other thing that my research specifically, the idea came from the experience, honestly. On projects, I kept watching the same, like let's say, same movie. Company buy
Mm.
great software and they launch that, and then after 6 months, everyone's quietly back to their own Excel sheet.
Yeah.
And I was working in Iran's digital government program, quite a massive program. So 20, almost all of the ministries wanted to become digital. And that's where I saw that most of the challenges weren't technical, they were cultural. So people, culture, and leadership were the difference between a success and failure between different ministries. And then I
Yeah.
kept asking why. So the software is fine. People were real, genuinely smart. And so what's actually failing? And then I thought maybe there's a research gap here. So yeah, decided to study a PhD in this area.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible, and I've experienced it firsthand as well. People are always your biggest variable. You know exactly what the tool does, you know exactly what the software does, you know how it should work, but that doesn't mean it will work because you don't necessarily know how the person is going to adopt it or how they're going to use it or how that tool affects a practice in terms of culture. Um, it's really challenging, and actually, I think going back, the BIM Acceleration Committee that turned into BIMinNZ was founded because of this problem around digital transformation of construction in New Zealand, trying to flatten out that boom bust nature of construction that we still deal with by trying to address some of the productivity issues through digital tools, because that's always the perceived solution at the start. Oh, we need to solve this issue. What software do we need to buy to solve it? And it's you said something at the start of your presentation. It might have even been the title. Um, Purchasing software is the easy part. You said anyone with a budget can buy software, and
Exactly.
that really resonated with me because I've certainly been there. Um, can you talk a little bit about that? Is there any particular challenges or experiences that you've had around thinking that you had the right solution, and then in reality it just goes a completely different way to what you had expected?
Yeah, absolutely. As everyone knows, technology is advancing rapidly, it's evolving almost every day, very fast. And then organizational leaders think that they may lose some competitive advantage if they don't bring cutting edge technologies. So they want to rush into just buying the software, bringing new technologies. They have solution for a problem that they can't see. So they want to buy the solution first and then look at the problem they may have, which is the biggest mistake. And if you remember, I shared some numbers during my presentation in BIMinNZ event. According to big head companies like McKinsey, Deloitte, PwC, more than 80% of organizations fail on achieving their goal after implementing digital transformation. And in the construction industry, it's even worse. Only 4% made it to the finish line. So there's a big problem here. The problem is that um, you don't have a proper problem to solve. You don't have a proper process to bring the technology, and you want people to work around the technology, which must be on the way around. So technology must work around the people. People should be at the core of the transformation.
Yeah. It's those statistics you shared were, I mean, they weren't surprising, but at the same time they were incredibly like I was floored when saw 80% like that. And I think failure doesn't necessarily mean a complete failure. It just means not meeting their expectations, but sometimes quite
Exactly.
drastically not meeting their expectations, right? Um, I think you said something like 34% of companies reach
Um,
their financial goals or don't reach their financial goals. What was that?
yeah, I was saying that even if it wasn't fail outright, it
Mm,
doesn't fail outright, the whole advantage doesn't show up. And again, according to McKinsey, organizations were struggling uh, to just reach 31% of the revenue lift they expected,
mm.
and 25% of the cost saving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that's not a complete success of the goal they set before.
yeah, yeah. It's really. What do you think it is in New Zealand, particularly? Do you think that as an industry, because there's this kind of stat that, well, it's not a stat, it's a quote that gets floated around saying that construction is still considered one of the least digitized sectors globally, due to slow change management or resistance to change, or brain drain, or all manner of things. Do you think this is a New Zealand specific issue, or are you seeing it worldwide?
But to be honest, it's worldwide, and I would say the New Zealand is a little bit laid back.
Mm,
Maybe, yeah, maybe around a decade behind the developed countries.
yeah.
So yeah, it's not definitely for the New Zealand specifically, but New Zealand, I believe, have even more challenges because it's literally at the edge of the world. So it
Mm,
has its own procurement issues. And
yeah.
according to the World Economic Forum, uh, the future jobs reports this year had findings that surprised a lot of people. The construction roles and civil engineers are among the fastest growing jobs in the world through 2030. So everyone expected tech jobs
Mm,
on that list, but the world has to build infrastructure, housing, energy. So here's the picture: a growing industry, an aging workforce, technology changing faster than we can train people. So the next horizon isn't just a tool; it's whoever figures out how to bring people along that speed. I believe the winner of the next decade in New Zealand would be companies that treat capability building as core business, not as a training budget line. And if you see that report, the Economic World Forum report that just recently, I think a couple of months ago, they published, the next decade focus is on resiliency and implementation of the digital transformation rather than introducing new tools and technologies.
yeah. You know what? I feel like you're speaking directly to my soul. This is like, it's it's really gratifying to hear because it is something that I think is missing, and it's something that you try to implement. It's really tough at the moment, and I need to give big companies the benefit of the doubt, but in this current economic climate within the construction industry in New Zealand, and particularly around the digital implementation, um, it's unfortunately the first thing that gets cut when times are tough and companies have to downsize. That investment in people, unfortunately, is the first thing that goes, and that's a real shame. And I think the mindset is that, well, we will just employ more people later. But I actually think that resilience that you talked about is this missing piece. I remember during COVID, a lot of companies, when their work dried up, they didn't immediately let go of people. They turned it around and invested that time into keeping people busy through training and upskilling. And actually, that was really valuable because in those kind of sugar hit years of 2021, 2022, where business was booming, those people were able to bring those skills through. So I think that there's an issue within our sector around the disposability of people and skills. And I wonder how we solve that. I wonder how we get people to, or organizations and leadership to actually recognize that. Um, because it's something that I always struggled with. And I think I've talked about my role with you in the past, but I was very much in that digital. I onboarded a lot of people. I wrote all the training. I created workflows and made sure people understood them. And um, where was I going with this? Management. Oh, I remember what it was.
Yeah.
I remember what it was.
Awesome.
So how do you convince management to understand the value of what they didn't spend? Because you can't quantify that. So you can say, here's all of the training that we've done, here's all of the support that we've given, here's our strategy, here's our new workflows. They're more efficient, they're faster, people know what they're doing. We're going to save money. And then management says how much money, and no one knows the answer. So how do we get around that problem? Because I think
Yeah,
that's a
that's
big one.
exactly. That's a really big problem. For example, if I train someone properly and support them, then the project runs smoother. But I can't show you the disaster that didn't occur,
Mm,
and there's no invoice for avoidable pain.
yeah,
Yeah, so how do I quantify it? So, yeah, you're right, and I think we should stop pretending that we can measure it perfectly. Anyone who gives you an exact dollar figure for culture change is, let's say, creative. Um, but I think measuring the things that pain leaves behind. So maybe, let's say, rework hours, RFI counts, so time spent hunting for current version of the document, staff turnover even. Maybe we can take a baseline before change and then run a small pilot what exactly we did in Chile with those 8 construction SMEs. We took a snapshot of their current state. So first thing, we assessed their current state and then took a snapshot that this is um, your point. These are your problems, these are your productivities and things like that. And these are the processes. We map their processes as well. And then after implementing our framework, the change management model I showed you, and then we brought someone, a third party from Switzerland, I think, to assess uh, their state, their state after the implementations, and then we compared that.
yeah,
For example, nobody asked for the ROI of safety anymore. You know what I mean? It should be a common sense that, for example, invest in safety uh, is not about return of investment. It is what we can prevent, the disasters that we can prevent.
yeah.
But I genuinely love to hear how you handle that.
Yeah, not as well as you, unfortunately. I mean, I tried all kinds of things. Staff turnover was a really big quantifier in my books. Like, if we had a really stable um, cohort of people that hung around a long time that weren't looking for other opportunities because they weren't feeling supported, that was really good. And then you're actually finding results through things like culture surveys and attendance to training and questions. And in the back end, if we created a workflow or created a Dynamo script or created new content, we'd actually have a trigger that populated a dashboard so that we could actually see this new content that we've built has been downloaded 70 times this month or used 70 times this month. So we were looking at performance indicators that showed use and showed engagement rather than return. Because, I mean, I have a few quite kind of spicy opinions on this. I think return on investment is a term that weighs us down so heavily. And I also think that one of the real barriers to productivity in construction is that we measure everything based on hours spent rather than outputs. If I can do something in 15 hours and it takes someone else 40, and we get paid the same and we're charged out at the same, um, I'm not going to say I should get to go surfing for 25 hours, but you know, there's this. You're not rewarded for that. You're asked, well, what else can you do with those 25 hours? Um, and I think that the more that we focus on outputs, the quality of outputs, and how we get to them, the stronger we can kind of perform as a unit, as opposed to who works the longest, regardless of what it is they're actually producing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
I, I always liked to the anecdotal feedback that you'd get from your team members, and the quality of their work that they're doing is often reflective of the quality of the support that you're providing them, or the how much they enjoy their work. People that enjoy their work typically do good work, and I don't think we value that enough. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, hey. So you've already mentioned it a little bit, but yeah, as part of your research, you got to go to Chile for a bit. How was that?
That was one of the highlights of my life. So let me briefly walk you through my research.
Mhm.
My research had 5 stages basically. So the first stage, I did a systematic literature review to design a customized change management model specifically designed for construction industry for digital transformation implementation. So basically what I've done is I've extracted all the change management models that we have and extracted all of their activities. On the other hand, I extracted more than 400 human-centric principles. And then with an advanced network analysis, I ended up with a 10-step change management model under 3 strategic phases. So strategic initialization, operational transformation, and sustainable integration. And then for the phase two, I ran a Delphi, 2-round Delphi. I interviewed with 20 senior leaders across New Zealand, Australia, the UK, and Denmark to find out, first of all, to refine the change management model that I've designed, and second of all, to find out the challenges that they faced during digital transformation implementation in their companies. So all of them were large, mature companies that what they said was based on the real experience that they had, not just their imagination. And yeah, it was a 2-round Delphi. Afterwards, I interviewed again with these people, another 2-round Delphi. So it was basically 4 rounds of interviews to identify the strategies and solutions of how to address those challenges. So we have found 10 general challenges and then a lot of challenges during each step of the 10-step change management model. And for that, we recommended some strategies, some, let's say, good practice strategies that they already used and found out that it was useful. And for the phase 4, I think, yeah, I went to Chile, funded by a governmental agency called Corfo under PATI program, directly working with 8 construction SMEs. So basically, the government wanted to um, leverage technology to improve the construction SMEs there. So we went there. I interviewed with 35 people there, including senior leaders, architects, engineers, even site supervisors, even some site workers. I went to site visits and asking the questions from the workers. What's your challenging? What are your challenges? They brought some technology. Can you work with it? If it is useful, if not, why? What's the problem there? And then I compared my findings in Chile with what I have found uh, during my interviews for larger companies in developed countries. And then I found out that the problems were quite similar, but their approach was very different. For example, for addressing those challenges, the mature companies wanted to have a structured, very formal business plan, business cases, calculating the ROI, and then have a structured plan. On the other hand, the Chilean SMEs wanted to approach it very informal and relationship based, just pick up the phone and call to other board members and having rough calculations in their mind. If we bring these technologies, then we can have more clients and blah blah, and then without a structure. In the mature companies, they wanted to implement the digital transformation as a whole, enterprise-wise. But for Chile, they wanted to tend it as project-based, and they themselves said baby steps to have quick wins. So that was really nice because it was no risk and it gave them the courage, and the senior leaders could see the quick wins very fast, and then you could get their full buy-in. And afterwards, and we implemented our guideline there, including change management and the recommended solutions, and it was working perfectly. Someone from Switzerland came and assessed um, their state after the implementation. The result was very good. I got a appreciation letter from the government, and yeah, that was a key highlight of my life. And after that, for the final phase, I came back to New Zealand and ran a workshop, including 45 practitioners. I grouped them into 6 groups, and I brought some scenarios, some real scenarios that I faced, some real challenges I faced in Chile. So I asked them to work together and solve these problems, and how would you approach to test the applicability and usability of the guideline in the New Zealand context and make it a little bit more customized nationwide here in New Zealand. And during this journey, I published, I think, more than 15 or even 17 papers, 5 Q1 journal papers, a lot of conference papers. I received 2 Best Paper Awards. One of them was in USA and one of them was in Lean Construction
Yeah,
community. Yeah.
I looked at your research the other day. You are prolific for how for the short amount of time that you've been in academia. I think in 2025 you published over 10 journals,
Yeah,
entries.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's awesome, and it was awesome to see the kind of breadth of your research as well, because it's not all this singular topic. You've looked at other various topics throughout your time as well. Um, Quick question, just for the audience and actually for me as well, just to be clear. When you say SME, you're talking about small and medium-sized enterprises, or are you talking about subject matter experts?
Uh, no, small to medium-sized
Yeah. Okay.
enterprises. Yes.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, we use both terms at the
Yeah, yeah.
university, and I was thinking both could be relevant here. It's like how CAD at a university is Center for Academic Development, and I'm like, that's not what CAD means, but yeah,
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 and
just
thank you for mentioning that. That
yeah,
was a good point.
um, because I'm really fascinated by SMEs in New Zealand, the small and medium enterprises, um, because I feel like in this world where they are having to upskill and implement new technologies, they're kind of at a disadvantage because they don't have the fat or the people to implement this. So if
Yeah,
they
the
want to
resources.
work, yeah, they don't have the resources. So if they want to subcontract to a big major tier one company, and there's all these digital deliverables like you're seeing with the future accommodation strategy. I think of the Ngamukapuna building, which is a living building in Wellington. I'm sure there are many others. You know, Te Reo Archives. Um, if if you're trying to get that work, suddenly you have to do a lot more, and you're probably doing it for the same fee in a lot of respects, which is the feedback that we get from some of our subcontractors that come along to BIMinNZ events. So, from your experience working with SMEs overseas, have they found any kind of solutions for how they're from your presentation? It seemed like they were actually quite advanced along in their digital journey, but I wonder how they got there.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Not all of them were quite advanced. I had a really mixed types of organizations. Some of them were really tech savvy. I can say tech savvy leaders, young leaders, and some of
Mm.
them were really struggling for surviving their daily operations and costs, and barely thought about bringing new technology or even processes.
Yeah,
But what actually worked for them was that two things I would say. One is that they didn't implement it enterprise-wise because of the massive resource limitation and very low profit margin between 2 and 4%. So if they fail, it had massive financial consequences. So what we have done, we have separated into small phases. For example, they wanted to implement Beam. For a specific project, I asked them to just deliver a 3D model on tablets, and then after the clients came into the site visit, they showed that um, to the clients, and then the clients were very happy and they agreed to invest on that. So that was a quick win. They got the confidence, they got the approval from the clients. So let's go and integrate it into the whole design now. So yes, you should reduce. They should reduce the risks because they have very limited resources. The other thing that is very interesting here, and if you remember, I emphasized that on the BIMinNZ event, it was the peer mentorship. They didn't look at each other as their competitor for their digital journey. They know that if they want to implement digital transformation, if they want to grow, all the industry must grow. The clients, the subcontractors, the competitors all needs to become digital at some level. Otherwise, you're just investing money that nobody can use. You have your enterprise, your project management information system, and you automated every processes. But when you want to communicate with the client or get some tender from subcontractors, then you have to work traditionally because they send their tender documents through email or paper-based, and then you have to get uh, their documents and then again do extra work to add it into your digital system. So it might have even more risk if you go digital, but not the whole industry. So those mature companies helped the other companies to and encourage them to implement the digital tools they used,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
barely we can see in New Zealand and Australia, unfortunately.
mm. Yeah, we try. I mean, BIMinNZ is kind of trying to do that by, you know,
Absolutely.
growing the industry as a collective. We're very cagey about what we want to share. Um, and we're very cagey about talking about money. The New Zealand construction industry does not like to talk about how much anything costs, unfortunately, because that data can inform future development, but obviously it comes with risk and liability and stuff. So um, we're a bit guarded here. But certainly, I think events like BIMinNZ or like the old Built conferences, I don't know if you ever got to go to one of those or AU or things like this. I think our bosses would be shocked with how much we share with our, in quote, competitors in environments where they're not really our competitors, they're our colleagues in the industry, even if they work for our competitors day to day. And
Yeah,
I kind of
exactly.
like that mindset. I want more of that. Um, it's great now. One of the things I've noticed moving out of industry into academia is that I'm no one's competitor anymore. So people are a lot more willing to share um,
Yeah,
what they're doing in more detail than they would under confidence that it's something that's said around a table, not on a microphone with the button recording. So yeah,
you
it's
should have
fun.
the mindset that the technology is not the competitive advantage.
Yeah,
Everyone can have that technology that you have.
yeah,
The competitive advantage you have is your people, your
mm,
employees, how you empower them, how
yeah.
you support them.
So
Yeah.
so just before we move away from Chile, what what do those teams need to do in your mind to keep succeeding? Like, this can't be something they just implement. It's done. We're we're winning now. We can just move forward. It's obviously something that needs to be maintained. Actually, you said something really interesting, which I hadn't heard before, but apparently it's a relatively common quote. Before you buy an elephant, make sure you can afford to feed it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Before you give birth
So
to
so
an elephant.
so what do they need to do to keep feeding the elephant that they've now got in their employ?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let me share my experience in Chile because it wasn't just about research. I got a consultancy contract from them afterwards. So based on the guideline that we designed, so what I say when I say guideline, I mean you have the process, you have the steps, you know what steps you should take in each phase, and you know during each step what challenges you will face and then you have solutions to address these challenges. So it's literally a step-by-step guideline. And then based on the assessments that that I've done for them, for each company, I drew a roadmap. So what we did is that we assessed their current states, and then we interviewed with the senior leaders. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in the future, and why? And then obviously there's a gap here. And then we draw a roadmap how we uh, reach their goals, how we get there, and what resources we have, what resources we need, how much money we have, how much money we need, what technology we have, what technology we need. And sometimes we didn't go to the technology itself. We just changed the processes and then the problem solved. No need to bring, like, let's say, highly accurate sensors for connecting the precast things. So yeah, and then I had weekly meeting to them to check their progress. So I gave them their monthly and weekly look ahead plan. This is your roadmap, and these are the things you need to do. Let's go and design a business model together, business case together. Let's calculate the ROI. Let's see how is your employees' knowledge, and then we created training profile for every single one of their employees based on their job nature, based on their capability, and based on their current knowledge. So it wasn't a generic training for everybody. It was customized training profile for each of the employees there. And then, I worked them through the strategic initialization phase, which is strategic communication, competencies assessment, and well-being and support structure. And then we created a good well-being structure for them because most of them were thinking that they're going to be replaced by, let's say, AI. If they bring BIM, then the architects need to go out and find a job, which wasn't really the case. But even if some of the organizations wanted to redundant some of their employees, we were very direct and we notified them that we are bringing this technology and we are supporting you through the next year. And after next year, you need to go, but we'll support you or we'll train you if you want. We can train you to work with this technology, or if you don't want, then that would be your redundancy date. And then we support them, and then we had a well-being plan for them. Yeah, that was pretty much the whole process. So having the structure and then checking the progress, and then literally the PDCA cycle, plan to check act.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't business as usual at all. It was totally a separate project that needed a specific assigned project manager only focusing on this project and 100% support and buy-in of the leadership. Most of the companies want to treat it as business as usual. So if you are doing this, keep in mind that you need to implement digital transformation as well. So that's not going to work.
Yeah. Were there any particular barriers? Like, were there any tools or any software or workflows that people particularly struggled with that present more of a challenge than others, do you think?
I remember two technologies. One of them was BIM workstation. So basically they put a workstation technology on the sites, then they can see the BIM model. Yeah. But unfortunately, it didn't work. They paid a lot, but the employees never wanted to work with it because they didn't even know how to work with it. Because most of them were unknowledgeable workers who didn't care about it. They didn't want to change their ways of working. Especially highly experienced, those experienced site supervisors. They were pissed.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. They said that, come on, that's ridiculous. I've done that like through whole my life. This is my 1,000 projects. I know how to do my work. Don't need to bring this piece of technology to tell me what to do. Yeah. So resistant to change and lack of digital skills.
And for that, how do you think we would get around that? Because I know LT McGuinness, and I know others do as well, but LT McGuinness in particular, I took my students to a site a few weeks ago, and they had a BIM station. And the engagement with the people on site, from what we could see, was really good. But they had someone there who could drive it. And I also remember in our first episode of this podcast, we had Jason Howden on, and he was talking about the BIM cave, was what they called it. It was a container ship on the side of the Justice Precinct, which was a big building going up in Christchurch, where it was an entire block. And he was talking about trying to get the guys on site into a digital environment and the resistance to it. And over time, there was one guy in particular who was really resistant to it. By the end of it, just through that ongoing support and encouragement, he's in the VR headset every day and he's like, I need to see this. Can you show me this? Set up a view, puts the headset on, looks around, he's like, got it. And he backs out to site and he's chatting to the guys about what he needs to do. So do you think it's just support, or do you think there's more to it than that?
I think it's more. I think it's finding the proper problem first. Why would
Mm,
you bring a beam station on
yeah.
site if you don't need it? It's not just bringing it
Yeah.
for the
It's
sake of
great.
bringing it. Maybe you
Mm,
could solve it on tablets,
yeah.
or and yeah, and then you need to have a proper training and proper processes. And the other software that I found it problematic in most of the companies there was the ERP systems. They wanted to automate the processes, but which processes? They didn't have processes really. So it was just extra work for
Mm,
everyone. They had to
yeah.
do their previous job and the new job at the same time. So yeah, the process weren't mapped properly. They just rushed into uh, digital tools and the black box itself. Yeah,
Yeah. What what problem are we trying to solve? That's always got to be the first question.
absolutely.
Because technology is cool and it's exciting and it's fun, but if you don't know why you're purchasing it or implementing it, then you're setting yourself up to fail to begin with. And I can kind of see that happening a little bit with AI at the moment. I'm quite keen to chat to you about AI because I know that there's all these like digital first, there's API first, and now
Oh
there's
my God, yeah.
AI first. And you kind of talked about that being, you know, considered a strategic overall direction as AI.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I think that there's room to explore AI, and I think it's good to explore AI. Um, but I can see examples where companies might be setting themselves up to fail in ways that don't exist yet. Um, we were I was talking with one of my guest lecturers the other day, Chris Welch from Oricon, about Uber and about how Uber you could get an Uber anywhere for like $4, and they were operating at a huge loss in order to get market share, right? And then you bring up this entire generation of people who don't even know what a taxi is, like colloquially. They just know that if they want to go somewhere, they get an Uber, and they can gradually increase their price to the point where it's profitable. From what I understand, a lot of these AI companies, like if if you're not paying, then you're not the customer, you're the product, right?
Yes.
Um, and so, and yeah, some of them do charge, but even the ones that charge, they're subsidizing to the tune of thousands of dollars per user, um, to get market share, and eventually, they're going to need to start seeing some profits on that to pay for all of the RAM and the data centers and the processing and everything. And so I think the world of AI is quite exciting at the moment. But I think it's dangerous to create an entire strategy around it as your definitive direction because we don't really know where it's going. And I'm curious if you've seen examples of that or if you're um, finding challenges in that space.
Yeah, sure. And can I be a bit spicy on this one?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because To be honest, AI first worries me. And it's not because of the AI, but because of the first.
Mm.
And I believe only the AI developer companies like Google should be AI first. And even if you see the Google AI implementation guideline, it clearly states the AI first strategy is wrong. And we have seen this movie. So 10
Mm.
years ago, let's say it was like, I think, Beam first or mobile
Yeah.
first. And before that, it was digital first. And whenever
Yep.
technology comes first, so people must come second, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
exactly know how that ends. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
80% of the time is
Mm.
disappointment.
Yeah.
And also, again, I want to refer to the World Economics Forum's Future Jobs report that just recently published. It said that's, I think, around 60% of the employers said that's the skill gap
Mm.
is the problem, not the technology. And so this is the number one barrier of the transformation, not the software, not the budgets, the people side. So it's the same lesson one more time. It's bigger. And in the same report again said that 92 million jobs are gonna be displaced, but at the same time, 170 million new jobs will come. So
Yeah.
that net is positive, but those are totally different people.
Mm.
So the people losing the old job isn't automatically the person getting the new job.
Yeah.
So the gap between these two numbers are not the technology gap, it's real skill gap. So my prediction is that AI first as a slogan will quietly die the same way that
Yeah.
Beam first, technology first, digital first died. So what will survive is something like problem first, people first.
Mm.
Or what I like is AI enabled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than AI first.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're digitally enabled, technologically enabled, but it's always about the people, right? The people being enabled, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, it's so funny. It reminds me of thinking 10 years ago, thinking BIM was going to change the world, and in 5 years' time, you know, everything's going to be using all these what we would call BIM workflows, which is so generic now. But and then 10 years later, we're still battling the same basic problems. Like until until there's a mandate, or until clients really understand how to utilize it, we tend to keep running into the same problems. And I also think just because large construction projects are so long, you only maybe see 1 to 2, maybe 1.5 in a decade. So if you're working on a giant commercial building, or trying to think of an airport or something like that, you know, what's set up on that project um, might see you through 7 or 8 years. Um, how do you think this kind of framework that you've developed can be applied um, across the industry? I know that your focus is on organizational enablement, but one of the things that I noticed within the industry is that teams are temporary. I think you mentioned this before, but you have a client. That client has very specific needs. They've got a very specific site. They've got specific measures of value and success. You assemble a team, that is your architect and your various engineers, and other designers. Your construction team, you have a very specific procurement model. You implement specific workflows and specific technologies. You have specific post construction deliverables and handover requirements. Basically, everything's different on every single project. And then at the end of that project, that whole team and all that innovation and all of those relationships, they all disband and they move back out into the industry and they all form again in different projects and different iterations. Um, and that's costing productivity because it takes time and effort and money to re-establish that good baseline. Um, do you have any thoughts around how um, your research and the things that you've been looking at could be implemented at that scale?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's a hard question because
Mm,
I designed a guideline, but it's
mm,
general. So you need to customize it with your nature of the organization. It's not
yeah.
one solution for everybody. It's just a general good practice that everybody is happy with.
Mm,
But what I really hope people to take away from my research are three things. First of all, so many leaders feel embarrassed that their transformation is behind, and they think that everyone else has it figured out. But they don't. The failure rate says so. So no rush. The first takeaway is relief. If your rollout struggle, you're not incompetent. You're just following the bad habits. The second takeaway, I think, which is practical, is that this research gives strategies that even SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises with their limited resource, can afford. Phase steps, role-based training, site champions, early wins, technology adoption, and then cultural integration and performance reviewing. So nothing in it needs a corporate budget. I wanted something a busy owner manager could read and use on, let's say, next Monday. Not admire on a shelf. So I want it to be practical. The steps that you can actually take on, let's say, Monday. And the third, um, for people going through the change, not leading it, the message is that your experience is not the problem. Your 20 years of experience on site, uh, plus the new tools, that's the winning combination. Technology is not here to humiliate your experience or to show you how to work. It is here to make you more capable and never replace, but to give you more leverage and make your job much easier. And that would be the competitive advantage if you can combine it with your experience.
yeah.
And yeah, and the guideline is here. You can find it on my website, btgvision.com. I called it BTG because it's built together.
Yeah, great. That's perfect.
Yeah, buildtogethervision.com. So btgvision.com. And you can have it, you can see it, try your best to implement it. It's also publicly available in open source journals, and I'm also here.
Mm,
If you need any help, you can drop me a message or let's have a coffee together.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. You answered two of my follow-up questions, which is it available and can people reach out to you? So thank you for that.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I'm very open to
yeah,
collaborate
yeah.
always.
So what's next for you then? So you've finished your PhD, you've submitted it. Have you need to go and defend it with examiners, or have you done that?
Yeah, I'm finishing the PhD now.
Yeah.
So the thesis is ready to be submitted in a
Mm-hmm.
few months. I think I
Yeah.
can defend the PhD by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And papers are all published, and but I never wanted to just focus on the academia because academia is not separate with the industry as well.
Yeah.
And I'm also working at Frequency as an associate PM, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's the perfect testing ground because uh,
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that Frequency is also taking people first, very serious.
Yeah,
And I
that's
really
great.
want to keep giving back through the communities like BIMinNZ, Link Construction Group, some student associations, and hopefully more BIMinNZ events as well.
Yeah. Oh, we'll
Yeah,
have you back. We'll definitely have you back. Um,
that would be my
and
honor, to be honest.
do you think you'll do more research? You want to continue publishing journals, or you going to spend some time solely in the professional realm for now?
No, 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 absolutely. I want to be in the middle.
Yeah,
Research industry, because they complement each other. Research
yeah,
complements, research industry enable research. It's a two-way thing. Yeah.
yeah. Great. I have one last question, and it's a question I've asked all of our guests so far. Um, do you have any advice or any thoughts for young people who are thinking about entering the industry? Maybe they're studying or they're coming through a different avenue. Um, with your knowledge and the things that you hold valuable, what do you think young people wanting to get started in the industry should be doing to kind of prepare themselves for their future?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I'm gonna share my own story over the past 3 years. Um, as I said, after I arrived in New Zealand, a few months in, I went into my first ever BIMinNZ in, I think it was early 2024 or late 2023, I'm not sure. It was at Becca's old office at Peter Street, and I went there. I just saw the advertisement, and I just went there to see what's going on in these communities. And that's where I met Farzam Farzadi. And then I didn't know a single one in the room. And I asked Farzam there to be my mentor. I said that New Zealand is becoming my home, and I don't know a single one in the industry. And could you please have one-on-one meeting with me to mentor me, help me shape my future? And that was amazing. I shared my personal life with him, shared my professional life with him. I was, that's funny. I was 90 kilo, and he advised me, you need to go to the gym, you need to be more active. Don't just focus on research, don't just focus on work, have fun, go to the gym. And I lost 20 kilos, and yeah, that really changed my life. So my advice to younger people would be just go and find right people in the industry and or in the academia. Find different mentors. I had, I think, 3 or 4 mentors across the industry and academia. Don't be shy. Attend these cool communities to expand your network, and don't expect um, to be paid quickly. It takes time. Networking maybe um, pay you in the future, but not directly and fast, like in 1 month. No, you need to uh, expand your relationship, prove yourself, take the opportunities, and attend these cool communities and try to learn from others. And fortunately, in New Zealand, community and people are so nice. They won't reject you. They treat you very warm and very kind. So yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Awesome. So,
I I hope
so
it was helpful.
patience.
I wanted
Yeah,
to
it
just
is.
share my story, and then if you think that resonates you, yeah,
It's so bold
there
that
you
you
go.
just went up and asked Fazim to be your mentor, and I'm sure he was delighted as well to be asked that. Yeah. And look, if you don't know who to ask, people within the BIM and NZ community can connect you to someone that maybe you don't know yet that they think you should. So come along to the events
Indeed.
and get to know people. Ali, it was awesome to talk to you. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me. People can connect with you on LinkedIn and message you that way.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
they can go to your website and see your research. And if they want to see your full talk, they can head to our YouTube channel. And it's just gone up there last week. They'll be able to find it by searching your name. So, Ali, thank you. And for everyone at home, thank you as well. Cheers, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much for invitation.
You're very welcome.
Cheers.